Well, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the late video. Unfortunately, yesterday I was hospitalized after 14 heart warnings and obviously been diagnosed with bronchitis. So yeah, I spent my day in A&E. So sorry about the delay in the video. In any case, there's only really three main stories to talk about today. The first is the MK Party's motion of no confidence in Cyril Ramaphosa. But before I get into the main video, can I yet again remind you, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, just hit the bell icon. You can imagine it takes a lot out of me to make these videos. In fact, I'm making one while I'm actually pretty sick. So reward me, hit the bell icon. In any case, the MK Party filed a motion of no confidence in Cyril Ramaphosa after his failure to fire the police minister, despite damning allegations against him. Now, the context was that the police minister was placed on special leave. He wasn't dismissed after the KZN police commissioner accused him of interfering in policing and colluding with crime networks. Now, the MK Party took the matter to the Constitutional Court, arguing Ramaphosa's actions were irrational and invalid and inconsistent with his constitutional duties and oath of office. Now, the MK Party claims that Ramaphosa missed the deadline, which is July 22nd, to file opposing papers defying the Chief Justice's directives. I mean, this is the normal state of the government as a whole. Whenever they have these applications, they generally tend not to actually file the counter defenses on time. Now, very interestingly, the president has gone on to say that actually the Constitution allows him a very wide girth, and that wide girth allows him to do basically whatever he wants in this instance. Now, whether that's true or not, don't know. So the MK Party's statement is that Cyril Ramaphosa's failure to meet the Chief Justice's directives undermines the integrity of the judiciary and public confidence. Now, this is obviously rather rich, coming from, well, the king of the Stalingrad strategy, Jacob Zuma. In any case, the MK Party compared the police minister's treatment to that of the higher education minister, who they claimed was sacrificed as a lamb on the altar of the GNU, suggesting double standards. The argument being, if there was corruption in the mix, well, why don't you just fire them? Because you did one already, so why haven't you the other? So what is the next step? Well, the motion was submitted to the Speaker and is currently under review for admissibility. Now, if accepted, it will be tabled for debate in the National Assembly. A vote will follow, but it's highly likely that Ramaphosa will survive unless opposition parties unify, which is rather rare. This would obviously require the DA also to vote against Ramaphosa, which I'm going to be honest and say I don't really think will happen. This may be a symbolic political move by the MK Party to showcase Ramaphosa's weak leadership and rattle the GNU, but what it will also effectively do is undermine the DA in the eyes of the electorate. So moving on to the police minister. This is the second story of the police minister who responded to the allegations of corruption against him, saying that there was no wrongdoing on his behalf, just misunderstanding. So he filed an affidavit to the Constitutional Court rebutting all accusations made against him. He claimed that he did not unilaterally disband the political task force team. Instead, he says that he wrote to the police commissioner who did not object. So it's kind of wordplay here. On lying to Parliament, he admitted to knowing Brown Mogotsi, but denied being an associate. He now terms or calls Mogotsi a comrade. As you know, it's a political term, not a business term or a professional one. So that does imply that he's lied here. He says he didn't know this guy, he wasn't even an associate, but now he's a comrade. Who knows? In any case, the police minister defended Ramaphosa's right to place him on special leave and said it was a constitutional prerogative of the president, describing it as a precautionary measure and not guilt. Now, the police minister maintains that he's done nothing wrong in relation to the explosive allegations made against him. Now, you have to notice what's going on here. There's a lot of sleight of hand, and what it does appear to be is that, yet again, the ANC is judging itself in the remit of the public and finding itself not guilty. They're using sleight of hand, they're moving things around, they're shuffling the deck, if you want to call it that, and then going, look, see, we're innocent. But that's not really the state of play, though, is it? In any case, let's move on to the next story. And this is probably the most important story of the day. And this is obviously the Ronnie Jackson bill. This is the US-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act of 2025. Well, it's now been approved by the House Foreign Affairs Committee 34.16. And this is really important because many individuals saw the bill going towards Congress, they saw it going for review. Many suggested that it wouldn't actually ever get passed because it's one of a million bills, but it's been pushed forward. Now, the bill accuses South Africa of siding with terrorists and communists, i.e. China, Russia, Iran, and known to be Hamas. So obviously the BRICS Forum plus Hamas. Now, the suggestion made is that South Africa is undermining the US foreign policy, and they highlighted the filing of the genocide case against Israel at the ICJ in 2023 as an example of this. They also highlighted the renaming of Sanctions Drive to One Terrorist Drive, a known Palestinian militant. Now, the actual bill proposes a full review of the US-SA relationship and potential sanctions against unnamed SA officials and ANC leaders. And we've done videos on this before. Highly likely to be Cyril Ramaphosa, and at the top of the list is Pandor, because Pandor, well, I've done numerous videos on it. She just loves them Islamic militants. In any case, the bill proposes a classified report within 120 days of passed listing all the targets for sanction. Now, Jackson has alleged that South Africa has abandoned the US and its allies, and he suggested that Trump is pushing this as part of a second-term foreign policy citing anti-white racism and corruption in South Africa. So what's next for the bill? Well, the bill will now go to a full vote in the House of Representatives, and if passed, it will then move to the Senate, but no date has been set yet. Congress is in recess until September. So even if it passes both chambers, Trump must then sign it into law. Many bills die at that stage, so it's very possible it may not see the light of day. But this one has symbolic and strategic backing from Trump's base and could be revived quickly if SA/US tensions are worsened. Now, the SA tensions with the US are worsening at a rapid rate because, as you'll know, we have the 30% tariffs due to come into effect on the 1st of August. Now, South Africa claims it has submitted a revised trade offer which allows the US fracking and gas imports, granted tariff-free access to US farmers off-season, and allowed the US to self-ban and self-lift poultry restrictions which local industry slammed as being dangerous. Now, the Agricultural Minister, John Steenhuisen, warns the US has not responded and blames lack of an ambassador after Rasool's expulsion and Jonas's disappearance. But according to everybody else, SA is going into the storm with no driver at the wheel. So I don't really know where this is going to go. South Africa's vehicle exports to the US have dropped 30% between April and May due to earlier tariffs. But mining exports, for example, palladium, are mostly unaffected. So what this will actually mean, very difficult to say. If no deal is reached by the 1st of August, then the new tariffs are going to hit. John Steenhuisen hopes for a last-minute extension as part of live negotiations. But you know what? South Africa's had extension upon extension upon extension. And the suggestions out of Washington is that South Africa is not actually negotiating. They're not actually even sending anybody to the negotiation table to discuss what's going on. So Trump is using the tariff threat as part of a negotiating strategy to exert more concessions from South Africa and other sub-Saharan countries. And you know, one of the key issues are obviously the ICJ case. And this is the news today that Brazil has annexed itself to that case. So this does take the driving foot or the pedal off South Africa, and they could now leave that case to other individuals. So if South Africa was smart, they just kind of pass the torch on to the other countries that want to push it and just worry about their own internal foreign policy. But one of the things that we've seen with Durka and the rest of the ANC allied incredibly Islamist-friendly leaning individuals is that a lot of this is ideological. It actually has very little to do with the impact of you and me. They don't care if the country burns as long as they see their ideological goal being met. At least that's my opinions. Do let me know what you think in the comment section below. Until tomorrow, bye.